Oh, cool.
Where?
There you go.
Oh, hi. Let me just line up.
Hey, Cristo.
There we go.
Hello.
Much good.
I finished my world.
You got options.
There we go, much better.
Hey, nice.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I made a hotel room.
Let's get rid of this. Nice.
Based off of an Australian hotel, so...
Yeah, get rid of that
Hey,
shit.
visit him. It's called Room 621. Should be in the community labs.
No, it's...
Hey, I'm Blair
Yes,
Moore.
alright.
And here's the sad part.
I'm on my
There's one
lunch.
public instance and 13,
Okay.
13
Hey.
I thought it was... I thought it was...
There's 13.
Hello,
I
Vig.
just hot crashed.
Hello, Vig.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Hello there. For obvious purpose.
I'm not gonna be talking much. I'm mostly gonna be
Hey, what's up,
muted due
dude?
to the construction outside of my window.
Hey man, confused me. Okay, so when you
How you
go
doing?
underside,
Okay,
you
yeah,
see, like,
I see.
the
Doing good.
top side of
Take
the
your
wing.
attention.
Alright, guys. Alright, folks.
Hey,
Quiet.
Alright, okay, so as you know, this is a 1-hour panel for Kage. I'm invited you all here to be a part of our audience. I respect that you either don't say anything or mute your microphone because we're going to be live streaming and recording. So we're going to be panning around, go back to Kage, like different types of angles with the camera. Basically, kind of like right here where you're standing is pretty cool to be. I'm not kind of sure how we can stage everybody, but you know, we'll play with that by ear. But the specifics are, let's not interrupt Uncle Kage while he's talking. I mean, some people can talk, I suppose, while you do your speech, but I don't think if you ask questions to the crowd, I don't know how, right? Then like,
I
don't
do
be too
occasionally
intrusive.
interact.
yes, if you interact, then yeah, unmute yourself and we can interact, right? So you don't have to be complete mutes. I mean, you know,
Alright.
it's an interactive thing. So I just
Like,
want to say
I
thank you
am
for
interacting with you.
coming.
Hey, is that point?
Oh.
Is
So
that
thank you
point
very
that's
much
in
for
point?
coming. This is officially the
Nope,
first panel
not
for
that point. I
Furality.
often get confused.
If you actually haven't registered, I forgot to mention to
Oh,
you
no,
guys.
he
you should
doesn't
probably
talk as
register
nice
for
as
Furality. You don't have to pay for the donation, but
I'll take that as a
it's
compliment.
voluntary.
It's like,
And yeah, so
Oh,
hope you guys have a good
this
time.
one shrunk in the wash.
You're
I'm
allowed
sorry.
to. You are actually fully allowed to record and live stream whatever you want.
Sure.
Just give credit to Furality as the event for this. And
so,
I
are you going to be taking
think
notes?
that's all. Am I missing anything here?
And I got
They were good to go.
Well, you
And,
are
and
the
also,
secretary.
obviously, if you're using like your avatars right here look pretty fine right now. Actually, you guys look great. Nothing
Yeah.
too heavy. I'm not even lagging. We're getting a few last minute people. Might should get PKP to come and join us as well. Pretty shortly. And so I'm not sure who else. Who else is inviting me here? Unwise. Yeah, I'll get him to come. So yeah, so we'll be starting at 5 o'clock sharp unless we have any technical difficulties. So that'll be in about 11 minutes from now. And yeah, so you guys have a good time. And we'll give Kage an audience, and of course our live stream will be live. So I don't know how many people are going to be tuning in to that, but this is our first event, so you know it's
Turn
been a
to
tough going last couple days. Getting Furality has gotten over 2,200 attendees so far. It's way more than we thought it would be. I guess people really want their convention fix, you know. So
That feeling.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh
Is-
no. And Blade, you're broken.
Good chatter.
Your mic.
So, yeah, because 2020, you know how. It's
And they got that on footage.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, am I
Yeah.
stuttering? No.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Okay, you're fine. You're fine. You're good. You're good. You're
You only
good.
recorded it. It's fine.
Yeah. Brûlé.
Okay.
It's been recorded forever.
So how's this look with
Yep.
the wine glass? Am I holding like 2 wine
It's
glasses?
just floating.
You just achieved ultra fancy in one day. Congratulations.
Drop
Yeah.
it. Back.
If you drop it, I can just pick it up for you.
I am so two-dimensional I can't even see him. Okay, let me un-2D myself here.
Yeah.
I wanted to do this, but not like this.
Yeah.
All right.
Minutes.
Cool. So
Wow.
Sorry.
I'm excited.
There we
I'm nervous. I should be nervous. Like this event. I haven't really planned anything like this in a while. So yeah, cool. And afterwards, we're free to do what you want. I mean, if you want to like hang out and do a world hop with somebody or whatever, go for it. Check stuff out. Chat with people. It's VR chat, right? You're supposed to
Oh,
chat.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm done being lame. Thanks for coming. And in a little bit, we'll get people together and we'll start recording and start our show.
All right.
Who's requesting me?
Oh yeah.
Indeed.
Oh,
fell asleep.
Cairo.
Oh, Cairo.
Yeah, he's trying to get in.
Oh, really?
The doors.
What are we at right now?
You're a tall one, aren't you?
Relay,
I
are
think
you
we're
in?
at 16 or 17 people now.
Yeah.
Hey,
Relay? No, he's not.
We're twins.
I didn't have these before.
Oh no, we're at 19.
Before my
now.
elbows were now
The smallest one.
Yo,
Yeah.
these videos are awesome.
Oh, I missed it.
Thank you.
Smallest.
How was that possible?
My way through.
Well, basically, if you hop on the train and hop off it, you go with it. It's kind of weird, but I'll show you later on.
Okay, so it's like something in the world that like makes you rotate.
I can't let you.
It's pretty fun.
I just rotate around. Yeah.
Yeah, I can stick my tongue out. It's kind of broken on the other side.
It's actually got
Cool.
the logo.
Hey,
Oh,
Inblade.
Max, hey. Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
I crashed saying hello, I'm sorry.
You can probably
That's
read
alright.
it. Because I would like it if somebody could, but I did kind of design it to be
How you doing?
decipherable.
I'm doing pretty good.
You got skinny bird legs.
Well, this part says
My new hair.
right?
No.
No.
A few.
It's
Did you affect
You got
fix
dynamic
your,
bones in
I
there?
can't even
fix your
see it
paint-
actually. I'd have to show you
No.
to be able to point it out.
I tried, but the whole thing moved, and that didn't look very good. So I'm like, whatever. It wouldn't. Yeah, I had the mod installed, but then it stopped working.
Mine works.
There's no bones in the hair. There's bones in other things, like the ears and stuff.
Yeah.
Changes to my avatar. I was hoping last night. Like,
You make the greatest. Your avatars look great.
I wanted to do it in preparation for this.
I'm happy that they work out because I've been learning how to make them basically, like paint them.
There's like a bunch of little things I added.
I finally got to do it. Wanted to ask
I just
how you
made a
put your
Shiba, too.
Sona into
It's looking good, if I may say so.
I appreciate it.
I can
Dude, I put a lot of work
into
into
it.
Yeah.
It's a strider, but it's like once you
I have no idea where the
Just
zooming around.
mod assistant, and then you have to get.
I do have one already.
I did catch a
I
blue.
recommend getting ready instead.
Which one?
LIV. It's an external program. You can overlay more than the speed saver. You can overlay more versions.
Oh, nice.
And it still takes the same rating as the Beat Saber. Beat Saber.
Something
special
you can
someday.
just jump straight over to. You should take a look at it. VR platform.
So you need to get it's on GitHub. There's but there's actually two of them.
That's actually how you made friends in it.
No, my
I don't remember what it's called. Just look up custom avatar Beat Saber, and you will eventually find. You're gonna have to dig for it though, dude. And you might. I think you have to go to like different places because like whoever put it together didn't put on.
I was muted this whole time and I didn't realize. Oh my god, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
I was trying to show you where your beak was.
I see you're on PC now.
Once you get to work,
Oh my gosh. That is my eyes. Alright, so I
You know how to do facial expressions in desktop mode? 'Cause I don't.
Oh yes. They showed me facial expressions.
Custom avatar.
Yes. Okay. There we go. There. Another photo out there.
Beautiful.
I'll add you as a friend. I can show you a little bit later, just because it takes a little while.
Tell me when you have it, because I'm looking off to the side now.
Alright, I gotta gather.
Okay, sorry.
Hold on. Hey guys.
I have another way of doing it.
All good.
I'm shibing up.
Yeah.
If you don't, never mind. I'm gonna wait till everybody is here. I'm gonna do a quick group photo.
The perspective.
So nobody's left out.
People at the front, that means you talk.
I get
Yeah.
picture
Thank you.
from it.
I still got a little bit of work to do.
That is a compliment because
I'm not,
tell
I'm
them
not
the
the
truth.
best with
I
making
mean it as-
textures, so.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Did you model it? I like it.
That was the only thing I didn't do. Pretty good.
Are you shooing invisible balloon mice up there?
The model was the only thing that.
Oh, sorry.
That
I have
downloaded.
Windows open, so
Other
I'm
than that, it
trying
was
to
just-
streaming event. everything
Sorry, I'm
from scratch
scratching
except for
stuff.
the model itself.
It looks like I'm just in
Right
the
on.
air messing with things, but there's stuff here. Don't worry.
It's okay.
So you gotta learn things at a chunk at a time.
Hey man, what's up?
It's
Oh,
just hallucinations.
It's better than going in
maybe
diving
not
in the deep end.
maybe after like whenever, not during this weekend, but maybe the next following weekend,
on VR.
can try to redo that video.
Yeah. I'm officially a
Yeah, we
furry
made
now.
this page. The only thing is to be actually respective of other things. It's up to the world maker to make things height appropriate.
Oh my gosh,
It's better to do like your character though, like your actual
Yes,
height.
it was part of your avatar.
For a second, students is
the soft body.
my avatar
Yeah,
is
Hold on, where's
Yeah, it's different.
Okay, good.
yeah, the elbow's actually actually pretty much where my
Yeah,
elbow
my
is.
ears.
Who's this?
Mine's a little higher.
You just smacked my headset.
Blamey, what are you doing in my curtain?
Such a weird.
Anything is I had a first shader on this, just
Oh, that's the camera.
like
That's
if
gonna
I
be the live
didn't
stream.
show it, I didn't like how
It's a
it
little
looked, so I
blue
just
dot.
converted it. So
Right on.
Yeah,
right on.
now he's a
I haven't had luck.
you know,
with
it's
still gotta
Holly,
play with that.
Holly Shep, I think.
Because of the directional lighting, even if I had like a slight amount of glowiness to it,
And then I'll be
it
switching
looked like way too glowy and like
I was like
Unity.
blown out. Yeah.
But so I took that off.
Hey,
and just
PD.
VR chat, it looks so terrible.
Oh boy, it's
Wait, he's here?
Read that real quick.
I see Uncle
my
Kage
God.
took a liking to my Shiba model. What's up?
Hey, Pika, how are you?
Hey man, nice to meet you.
Me too.
related.
Oh, well, I'm the creator of the model that you are wearing
Oh,
right
that
now.
could explain it. Oh,
Mhm.
well, I saw it at the window and couldn't resist.
Oh, yes.
So wait, you're his
Somebody's
father?
request to join our world. God damn it.
He's all of our father.
Yes, even the tiny one, this little calico one right here. Hello.
Go to the hotel room, did you? They probably have time.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going. I was like, ever to home with Homeworld.
Oh, Uncle Kage, disappointing. We were taking bets. It was like, oh no, he's totally gonna buy a VR headset for this, isn't he? He's totally gonna get one.
Okay, the thought has occurred. The thought has occurred to me, but again, I'm watching my finances right now. You never know when the company's going to show up and say, "Guess what?" So, you know, I'm not making any. You guys want to do that? That'd be lovely. But whoa, dude! Do I got to strip now? Is that how this works? How do I take the clothes off?
God.
Right on, man. Right on.
Ooh, that's it. Keep throwing money.
And here I did is bought an additional VR headset just to test it out. Did you? Yeah.
Okay, for
I kind of went cuckoo one night, like just.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I was like a little bit manic, and I just like I was like, hey, I have enough.
Sides here and changing the
Bop
position,
eye.
or would you rather have the
And then I woke up next day, wait, did I did
That's
buy that.
entirely up to you. I'm easy. You can ask anyone.
Cool. I'm not wearing it right now because I'm getting.
Okay.
I have to get my display
Alright, so
port
if I'm on
working.
stage, just
I am
ignore me.
flying.
So do I give
Oh,
a
that'll
little
be easy.
speech just basically tell everybody you're here to be audience for the Kage speech. And we're going to be quiet.
Oh.
You know, I'm not to be disruptive, as you may know.
All right, I got 4:59 Eastern
streaming and
time.
recording this.
Those of you who know me know I
Disruptive.
start exactly on time.
No, like, you know.
Okay.
What do I mean avatar?
Okay.
4:59. I wish I had a watch I could stare
Okay,
at.
so we're going to about a minute?
A minute.
I'll step
Less than a minute.
In a minute.
By the way, in the event of an emergency, the exits are to the rear of the room. There's an exit over here, stage right, or you can hit
And we're live,
escape
real good?
either way.
Real
Oh,
good?
Uncle Kage,
Place
come on, I
is
got
not
my
up
own
for
exit
fire
right
code.
here. Look at that. Yeah, I got a DeLorean exit. Woo!
Am I blocking you? Am I blocking
Yeah, okay,
you?
so
No, it's fine.
get in the DeLorean.
Pretty much taller than you. It's all good.
Okay.
All right,
Get it out of your system.
all right. It's 5 o'clock. Somewhere.
All right.
Right,
It's 5
I'm
o'clock.
switching the scene.
Okay, we're going live.
Speaking of 5 o'clock, I just want everybody to know, as a point of curiosity, I might be holding this
No.
which I just dropped. Thing of give me that shit. The wine here. Thank you very much. Yeah. Very good. I'll find it. Yeah. There it is.
Here you go, Grandpa.
Oh,
Here's your drink.
Yeah, just give me my Geritol there. Hold still, will you? God damn it. Yeah, all right,
There you
get off my stage.
Are you using a
All
mouse
right.
or do you have a thumb pad?
I got a mouse.
Okay.
And my finger's getting tired. I'm going to put this thing down here. On the coaster, because we don't want to get on the... There you go. All right. This is the 22nd of May. May. I have not had any alcohol since the 1st of May. This is something that everybody who enjoys alcohol should occasionally do. Take some time off, just prove yourself. And so far I can. I'm not happy about it. It has had some advantages. So the company I work at is, right now, they are working on the next generation of the SARS-CoV-2 virus detection kit. They drew a large amount of my blood a couple of days ago. They're using my blood to test the kit. So the good thing is my blood was nice and clean for them. So, yay, great. I am going to wait end of the month. The 4th of June happens to be my birthday, and I am going to essentially drink wine until it pours out of my ears at that point. It remains to be seen if I'm going to get up on stage for that. You'll have to see. Now, you can't see because I don't have a VR thing, but I've got a little piece of paper in front of me here where I've been frantically scribbling down some ideas for stories to tell. The problem is, those of you who don't know who I am and have showed up here and are saying, who the hell's this shibe up on stage here, pretending to hold a glass of wine and you can't even hang on to for very long. There we go. Okay, now you can recognize I'm Uncle Kage. Basically, you've heard the expression, shit happens. I'm the guy they wrote that for. Shit happens to me. And I tell stories about shit happens to me. The only problem is, shit, other than the worldwide shit, hasn't been happening. I've been locked up in my house for the past couple of months. So I'm like, what the hell am I going to talk about? So if I should by any chance get lost and I can't think of anything to talk about, I am a scientist. I got a doctorate in chemistry. I will revert to my scientist training. If you ever watch a lecture given by a scientist, you can always tell if the scientist loses his place or can't remember the point he was making or has gotten totally confused, because we all have been trained to say the same thing. At this point, are there any questions? So, should I say that? That means, shit, I have run out of stuff to do. What I might do is I might grab somebody in the audience and say, you, what should I talk about? So don't be scared if I do that all of a sudden. Just don't forget to unmute yourself, because for all I know, all of you have gone out to the bar without me, and I'm just staring at your avatars. So,
oh no,
pretty much.
The nice thing.
No,
sorry.
Are you sure?
Oh yeah, the nice thing about VR is that when we're away from VR, we look like this.
Play dead. Oh, that's perfect. All right. Now, they've been inviting me all over the world to essentially drink wine, stuff here, and tell stories, and they must like it. I don't know. I don't understand it myself. I just drink and talk, usually at the same time, which is very messy, but I try my best. I've performed in, in Germany, Canada, in Japan, in Malaysia, in Australia. Australia was I think, the furthest flung I've ever gone. I'm never going to forget the call that those were the days when we still used telephones to got my shit again. Talk to people. Got it. Yeah. There was a fella named Arctic Pete. Arctic Pete was his name. He called me up from Australia. He said, "Yeah, we'd like you to come down here." I said, "Me, what for?" He said, "We want you to get drunk and fall down for us." Oh, okay, I can do it. Sure. So, most recently, if you don't count the U.S. conventions, the last convention I was able to go to was First Squared. That's a convention that Alkali started and ran for a while. I would like to tell you some stories about First Squared, but for some strange reason, I can't remember anything of the convention from the time I arrived to the time I departed. Sort of a blank. Actually, that's not true. I just don't want to. But back in the winter time, I was still able to go to the convention. That was quite nice, because so actually this microphone keeps bumping into my nose. That's what that. In December, they actually invited me out to Malaysia, and that was amazing. I didn't quite know what to expect. The only thing I know about Malaysia is that it's filled with Malaysians. That's about it. And for the longest time, I thought that it was based off the French word Malays, but no, they're actually a wonderful people. It's kind of surreal for an American, especially a modern-day American, because here we're at a furry convention, and there were quite a large number of women in full Muslim garb who were running around doing furry things. You don't expect a person in Purta wearing a burqa and everything to be hanging out with furries, but they were absolutely capital folk. But I learned something. I learned something in Malaysia. First off, I discovered that I had been wrong about something that I had been claiming for the longest time. You see, at this convention, which is called Furum, by the way, Foxamore was there too. If you don't know who Foxamore is, shame on you, all of you. He's Scottish, and we went to the bar one evening, and they had sake. Oh my God! Anybody who knows me knows that I am a sucker for sake. I love this stuff. Can't get enough. And I discovered that I had been wrong in the assertion that I'd been making for many, many years. That sake is a clean enough beverage you can't get a hangover from it. I learned in Malaysia that that's not true. You can get a hangover from sake. I also had felt that sake, because it doesn't have a very high alcohol content, you could drink as much of it as you wanted and you would not get drunk enough to have a blackout evening. I discovered that I was wrong in that event as well, because Foxamore and I were happily enjoying sake, and then the next morning at breakfast, which was also an interesting cultural shock, breakfast in Malaysia. What is that? It's not Fruit Loops, it's moving. But Fox and I were sitting at breakfast, and both of us were very, very quiet, doing that sort of stare at the plate thing. And we could tell each of us was not feeling very well. And then both of us had the same idea, and we didn't really want to voice it. And I think I was the one who finally broached the subject when I said, by the way, Fox, did we pay our bar tab last night? And he looked a little crestfallen and said, I don't know. He couldn't remember either. We started feeling awful. What if we drank the place dry and didn't pay for it? We were too embarrassed to go in and talk to the bartender, so we flagged down a passing melee and said, could you go in there, please, and ask the bartender if we paid our bar tab? And he came back and reported that we had. And the problem is, the Malays are an extremely polite people. He could well have just said you had after he paid our bar tab for us, so we still don't know. The next evening, Fox and I went back to the bar, and the barman came over, and his English was a little dodgy. And I asked, do you have sake? And he looked questioning, and I said, sake, Japanese wine, sake. He said, no, we don't have it. Don't have any. I said, well, that's odd. You had it last night. He said, no sake, no sake. So I thought, I know we couldn't possibly have consumed all of their sake. They had quite a lot of it, as I remember. We didn't drink that much, did we? God. So after a while, a waitress came over, and I had not seen her before, so I tried on her. I said, could we have some sake, please? And she went off, and she happily brought us a bottle of sake. And I felt a little annoyed, because the guy at the bar had told us, you lied to my face, and said you don't have any sake. So we thought, okay, let's just chalk it up to his English was not quite good, and he just didn't understand what it was that we wanted. It was a little bit later on that somebody kind of gently broke the news to me. No, he understood English perfectly well. That had been the barman from the night before, and he didn't want us to have any more sake. So he lied to us and said we didn't have any more because he didn't want a repeat of what happened the night before. And that's when I asked, what happened the night before? And I can't tell you because no one has been willing to tell me. As I said, the Malays are a very polite people. At least, though, as far as I know, there is no video of this. The only people more polite than the Malays are the Japanese. They are absolutely wonderful folk. I would say anybody here who's been to Japan, raise your hands, at least if you're on VR and not in the... Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to this stuff. So I was invited to JMOF, Japan Meeting of Furries. And that was a blast. It was kind of a little secret wish of mine. I always wanted to go to JMOF, but I invited guest of honor. It's like, wow. If you've ever been to Japan, there are some cultural things that you need to be aware of. There's all sorts of websites out there, like 10 things not to do in Japan. I do strongly recommend you visit those sites, especially if you're a stupid white guy like me. My very first visit to Japan was a number of years ago. This was not a furry visit, the first one. This was just a vacation. So and one thing that I learned is that in the Japanese culture, where the emphasis is very, very high on politeness and decorum, it is considered rude in polite company to say no. To answer in the negative is rude, which leads to some misunderstandings. Because I had gotten separated briefly from the gentleman who was a little bit better in Japanese and was helping show me around. And I knew I wanted to go to the rail station, but I couldn't remember which direction it was. And there was a police officer standing. So I went up and, in my very, very hesitant, very, very poor Japanese, asked him, did he speak English? Eigo wa wakarimasu ka? And he turned to me and crisply said, "Hi!" I said, "Oh, great, oh, wonderful, wonderful. I'm supposed to be going to Shibuya Station. I got a little turned around. Is it down this road or is it the other direction? Which direction should I go?" And he said, "Hi!" I said, yes, the station, the rail station. Is it this way or that way?" And he responded, "Hi!" I said, you don't actually speak any English, do you?" He said, "Hi!" Okay, perfect. No wonder we got in a war with these people. I can think of a few possible advantageous scenarios where you're with somebody who doesn't want to say no, but we're not going to get into that because there might be kids around. But getting back to JMOF, they apparently had heard somewhere that I like sake. This place was swimming in the stuff. They, in fact, had a local sake brewery actually make a special vintage of sake just for the convention. And they gave me a bottle of that. They gave me 2 bottles, actually, one to bring home, and it's a very, very lucky thing that it did get home. And the other one I drank there in the course of about 20 seconds. Hang on. My finger's getting tired. I'm going to put this back on the coaster, excuse me. Fuck it. Anyway. All right, we're back. It wouldn't be the first time I dropped a wine glass on stage. On Saturday night of the convention, they had a sake tasting. They had an invitation out to all of the Japanese furries. Bring in some sake from your home prefecture. And basically, it was a giant piss-up. There were 80 different varieties of sake. I learned how to count to 80 in Japanese, and I can do it very, very, very well. Although it gets a little bit slurry when you get above 60 or so. If you get the opportunity, I highly, highly recommend JMOF. Although, be advised, the old saying that everybody over there speaks English, that's not true. There are even some young folk who actually, I'm going to qualify that a bit. They understand English very, very well. But in that particular society, not only is emphasis placed on politeness and decorum, it is considered extremely embarrassing to make a mistake in public, especially if you're talking with somebody that you are attempting to be respectful toward. They are so morbidly afraid of saying something wrong in English that they won't speak English to you. They can understand every single word you say, but they can't communicate back because they're just not comfortable speaking English. They can't speak it perfect. So let me just leave you with a warning. If you're talking to a Japanese person and they appear not to be able to communicate back to you, don't say to the person next to you, this guy's thick as a plank, he doesn't understand what I'm saying. It doesn't go over. That very, very first visit to Japan, by the way, there was something of an ulterior motive. I had said that I wanted to go, just to go. That's true. But there was something else I'd been meaning to do. I have a fascination with the history of, shall we say, the middle part of the 20th century. Most of my older family members served in World War II. I grew up listening to the stories. I almost felt I was there myself. Because of this particular fascination with that period of history, occasionally people who want to get me a present or something will buy me something World War II related. Well, I had a friend in Pennsylvania who was from that middle part of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a sort of long, wide state. On the left, you've got Pittsburgh. On the right, you've got Philadelphia. And in the middle, you've got Alabama. Well, that's where this guy was from. He had gone to a gun and knife show, which they have every 4 days in those parts of the world. And thinking to get me a nice present, he had purchased a collection of items that had been taken from the body of a Japanese soldier who had perished in World War II and brought home as souvenirs. And he very, very kindly made a little collage out of it in a nice shadow box and everything. And I thanked him gratefully for it, and I was flattered he got me the present. But I never really felt right displaying it, because there was a photograph of the guy, there was like a little family pamphlet sort of thing, his rank and insignia, very, very personal thing. And it just made me feel wrong to put it as a prize on the wall or something like that. So when the opportunity came to go to Japan, I knew exactly what I had to do. I gathered all this stuff together, and I put it in a nice box, and one of the stops I wanted to make in Tokyo was to a particular shrine called the Yasukuni Jinja. It is a shrine to Japan's war dead. And I really wasn't 100% sure how I was going to go about doing this, so I just played it by ear. They tend to be very understanding of Americans in our lack of couth. I went and I asked to speak to one of the head monks. I guess I was expecting, like, Kwai Chang Caine to come out with his orange robes and his bald head and stuff. But this very nice middle-aged gentleman in a business suit came out, and his English was good enough that I could tell him what my story was. And I said, I don't want to keep this stuff. Could I leave it here with you? And he seemed rather taken aback, and he said, we don't get a lot of Westerners asking us about this. And I said, well, I can kind of understand that, but I've had this stuff sitting in my closet for a number of years, and I don't know who this guy was, but I figured the least I could do was bring it home. So I did. I got a nice note back about 6 weeks later from the shrine saying that with all of the stuff I had given them, letters and pictures and things, they had been able to track down the family of this late soldier, and they had asked them if they wanted the things, and they said, no, you can keep them at the shrine, so he is now enshrined at the shrine. Made me feel very, very, very good. It bought me some karma points to make up for some of the other incredible blunders that I made there. One of which is something that's very, very easy for a Westerner to fall into. It's a trap. It's a trap the Japanese set for you. Be very, very wary of. I was walking with my friend, and we happened to walk by a residence, and there was an old lady, very old, who was coming out of a door that had some stairs going down. And as we passed, this old lady took a misstep and started to stumble. As a Westerner, I turned very quickly, and I put my arms out, and I grabbed her, and I held her so she wouldn't fall. She looked at me like I had just, pulled a Donald Trump on her, and my friend kind of shoved me aside and started apologizing profusely and very abjectly, and then dragged me away. And he was very, very annoyed with me. He said, "What the hell did you do that for?" I said, "Well, dude, she was going to fall. She was going to fall. What was I supposed to do?" And he said, "You don't touch a Japanese person. Especially if you're a younger man, you don't lay hands on an old lady. It's considered an incredible insult, one of the worst insults you can do." And I said, "What was I supposed to just let her fall?" He said, "Yes, she would have preferred it." So, yes, before you go to Japan, look on that list online somewhere, top 10 things not to do in Japan if you don't want to look like a stupid gaijin. Where the heck else have I been? I think the first foreign convention I went to was Eurofurence. That is amazing. Eurofurence is absolutely spectacular. I say this all the time. Some of you heard me say it before. I'll say it again because I say it unabashedly.
If I may interject, Kage, we're actually rebuilding Eurofurence virtually right now. So
really?
Furs who are actually recreating a photorealistic recopy of the Khan Hotel.
Then I have to get this out of my system now. Okay, I'm going to get it out of my system now. We'll go on.
Yeah,
Yes,
after this panel, we could probably take you there. So if you want to see it, there's like a little preview.
I would be very interested, as a matter of fact. Yep.
For sure.
If you get the chance to go to Eurofurence, even virtually do it. It is run by Germans, and the Germans do not do anything halfway. You can just ask Poland about that if you don't believe me. And I can say that now. I'm not going to say it there. Like I said, I want to get it out of my system.
Oh, yeah.
That very, very first Eurofurence, and anybody who might have heard this story, you can go get some ice cream now or something. Okay, into it. It was, years. It was like 2004 or 2005 or something. Years and ages and decades and centuries and minutes ago is how long ago. It was Eurofurence 8, and I think right now they're up to like Eurofurence 25 or 26 or something silly. Good God, time does fly. And right now, one of you who is muted, thank God, is saying something like, "Oh, I wasn't even alive then." Fuck you! Okay, thank you very much. All right. So, I hope there are no children here. If there are, and they're laughing, it ain't my fault, okay? All right. I got invited to go to Eurofurence. And Eurofurence was a much smaller convention than Apricon. So I thought, this is going to be cute, a cute little convention. Let's see how they do. Their theme that year, as you know, most conventions have a theme, was the FIA, the Furry Intelligence Agency. And it was, the idea was that there was a German government organization that had been created to study these furry creatures like I have here. And they were inviting a renowned American scientist to come and address them. So that was the shtick. I thought, this is going to be cool. How will they do their theming? When I got off the plane, I went through customs, and at the end of the customs area, they got a sliding glass door. It's opaque. And I went through the door, and as it slid open, standing at Parade Rest on the other side were three very, very large, imposing gentlemen in black suits with black fedoras and the curly microphones in their ears, like Secret Service wears, and they all had very official-looking IDs on their coats. And they were standing there. They had dark sunglasses on, so I couldn't see their eyes. So I kind of smiled and started to sidestep, and one of them sidestepped, stayed right in front of me, and looked down at me and said, "Dr. Conway?" I said, "Ja, ich bin Conway." He said, "Kommen Sie mit uns bitte." And he kind of got behind me. Another guy got in front of me, and the third guy took my bags, and they flanked me as they marched me out of the airport. They went through the doors to the outside, and there was a red carpet laid down that led up to a vintage 1960s era silver Mercedes-Benz limousine that had a German flag mounted on one fender and the FIA flag mounted on the other. In front of it was a blacked-out SUV with the FIA logo on its door and the flags as well, and there was another one exactly the same behind it. And I walked to the end of the red carpet. They opened the door of the limousine, and I climbed in the back. There was a box of Cuban cigars, and I mean actual, honest-to-goodness Cuban cigars sitting in the back. And they closed the door, and this trio of vehicles pulled out of the airport and got onto the Autobahn. And we were driving along very, very high speed, and the flags were flapping in the breeze and everything, and I thought, I can kind of get used to this. And it was really adorable. I noticed that cars kept pulling up alongside us, and people were staring in the window at me. And when that would happen, I'd just turn and look back at them, and they'd hit the brake, and they'd fall back. We got off of the Autobahn and started driving on these little tiny country roads. And I mean, when I say little tiny country roads, you look at the floor down here, see the floor? See the slats that the wood makes? That's as wide as the roads were. And we're driving along, getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the wilderness. And at one point, all three vehicles just sort of stopped. And the driver of the limousine got out. And I started to reach for the door, and the passenger in the front seat turned and held his hand up and said, "Nein!" And I froze. I thought, okay, sure, whatever you say, dude, you're in charge here. They went to those two black SUVs, and they opened the backs, and they pulled out blue German police light bars and put them on the roofs and activated lights and siren and brought me in with this motorcade. They pulled up to another red carpet that was waiting there, and I got out, and I was led along the red carpet into this little building, and there was Tita, the chairman of Eurofurence, and he stood up, and I went in and just kind of broke down and said, "Dude, you win. I can't hold a candle to this. This is amazing. You guys rock." I said, I can't hold a candle to this. This is amazing. You guys rock. And it said, and in the back, I said, I can't hold a candle to this. This is amazing. You guys rock. And it said, and in the back, I said, I can't hold a candle to this. This is amazing. You guys rock. And it said, and in the back, I said, I can't hold a candle to this. This is amazing. You guys rock. And it said, and in the back, I said, I can't hold a candle to this. This is amazing. You guys rock. And it said, and in the back, I said,
So sorry about that. I crashed. That wasn't good. That wasn't good. Sorry, guys. I'll try to rejoin the world. I'll go meet up with Dashing, and then See if I can get us invited. Fuck. My first Uncle Kage panel. I had to crash. Really? Really? Sorry guys, I'm so sorry. And we're still recording, right? Yep, we're 44 minutes in. Still recording. I fucking crashed. Why? Once I load, I'll online. Go join up. I'll go join dashing in there. This is so fucking frustrating. I was just recording that, but I'll try to rejoin. Fucking hell. God damn it.
My job